back to ARC Tutorials. This is Testing Concept Series, and today we are going to learn all about performance testing. What is performance testing? What are the different tools? What is the advantages and what are the disadvantages that brings along with performance testing? We will learn all about it. Let's get started. This is part 11 of the Testing Concept Series. If you haven't checked out the previous concepts that I've covered, please do make sure that you cover them so that you have continuity in your learning and you master all the concepts of testing. Today we are learning about performance testing. So let's start with basics first. What is performance testing? Performance testing is a type of software testing that is used to determine how well a software application performs under a specific workload. Performance testing is often conducted in order to identify potential performance bottlenecks. Some of the performance issues that we see is slowness in response times or high levels of resource consumption. For example, let's say an API is delivering you a JSON output, but that is taking way too long. Now that's something that you want to optimize because it will slow down the application. Performance testing not only do we conduct in backend APIs or at the server side, but we also conduct performance testing on the front end. In the front end, if you look at your JavaScript code or CSS, the questions we should be asking is it optimized? Is it serving in a real quick time? What is taking time? Because if you make it CSS too much load, it would slow down the application. Do you have a lot of JavaScript in the page which is not utilized correctly but is slowing down the processing of the application? There can be a lot of different ways that we perform performance testing, but remember that performance testing is applicable to both front end as well as at the server side scripting. Performance testing overall improves the user experience, increases customer satisfaction, and overall makes sure that our application can handle a lot of workloads without failing, especially during some of the peak time of the application usage. For example, say Flipkart Diwali sale, Amazon Thanksgiving shopping, etc. So those are some of the peak times when your application will start picking up, and that's where you want to make sure that the performance still is intact. Alright, so now let's talk about some of the tools that are used for performance testing, right? So there are different various tools that are used. There is no one or two or three defined tools, but there can be multiple tools that are available now in the market. Some of these includes load testing tools, right? So they simulate and make sure that X number of users access your software at a given point of time and see the performance of it. This is to make sure that there are high concurrency level and can handle a lot of traffic. Then there is stress testing tools, which is to make sure that there are extreme workloads and usage scenarios are increased to make sure if there are any performance bottlenecks. Capacity planning tools. Now this is to make sure that your website doesn't go unresponsive or hangs or takes time in the browser or caches, right? So those are the things that capacity planning tools will help you. Then there are monitoring tools. Monitoring tools helps us in seeing which requests are taking more time, what failed, which resources are consuming much more memory, what is the error rate at a given certain feature or a functionality. So monitoring tools are extremely critical to provide you input to help improve the performance. Then finally, you have the performance analysis tools, which collect the data from monitoring tools and gives you reports, dashboards, and action items that we can improve. For example, if a page, say, say loading list users page, right? Let's say it's taking too long to show the data. Then in your monitoring tools, it would show up that this particular API is taking a lot of time, and that would be an input to performance analysis tools and tell that instead of serving 1,000 results in a row, let's start with pagination and serve only 100 at a time to improve the performance. So those are the input insights, actionable insights we get using performance analysis tools. Now, what are some of the tools that are available to perform these things? For one, you can start with Apache JMeter. Then you have Load Runner, you have NeoLoad, which does all the load testing and all that. For monitoring performance analysis, you can use tools like Datadog, all of those logging, right? New Relic provides a lot of improvements and insights into the performance of the application. Now, why is it important? There is no second question or doubt about it that why performance testing is extremely important. For one, it improves the performance and scalability of the application. As your workloads improve, as your workloads go high, your usage level goes high, your application should not end up becoming a zombie or crash or become unresponsive. Second, irrespective of the usage or the workloads or the engagement, the entire user experience should be smooth, easy, and systematic. Performance testing also helps us in better planning and capacity management. Not all the time you would see that all the resources are utilized correctly. There would be a lot of resources which are underutilized, and that's where you have to adjust and adapt to a change in terms of the policies or either at the cloud level or at the configuration level without changing the user experience. Of course, reduce costs and downtime. Now, this is very important because if you are an e-commerce company or a shopping cart company and selling products, you cannot afford to have a downtime or those things in the production. You need to make sure that your application is up all the time because it is bringing in money. So performance testing will obviously help you save time, resources, and above all prevent any loss of customers or revenue. One of the most important critical things that is often overlooked is the compliance aspect. Your application, at least at enterprise level, most of the enterprise applications have to be compliant with certain performance requirements. Now, those are by the standard as set at the enterprise wide because that builds us the deploying the confidence and application usage and overall bringing the brand value. All right, so now let's talk about some of the disadvantages that are there with performance testing. Performance testing is costly. Okay, is costly for reasons that it involves a lot of tools which are enterprise level, which are licensed copies. These are this requires specialized tools and expertise from the resources who are working on it, which means you need to add resources in your team who have that knowledge and use those tools. So that becomes highly costly, maintainable. Performance tools are not simple and straightforward. Sorry to say this, but they are little complex and difficult in nature for reasons that it requires a lot of extreme expertise level of technicality, experience, and it can be challenging at a time because the time to turn around the performance issues are pretty less. That's why there will be a lot of chaos whenever you're working in performance testing. It's difficult, it's complex, but again, you can gain those knowledge with time and experience. Limited scope, performance testing, like I said, most application platforms tools provides you simulations, right? For example, if you simulate 5 million users on a particular user on a application, that's again a simulation, but it may break for the 6 million, right? So there is no fixed standard or scope that is defined, but we try to avoid and we try to put in place checks and we try to put in the kind of, you can say that, identifying issues before even their issue, right? So those kind of vulnerabilities that or usability problems, those things you anticipate. You don't know the problem, you anticipate and you try to fix them so that you don't have that issues. Inaccurate results, like I said, we are mostly depending on the workload, specific tools and reports and logs. So they may not really turn out to be 100% accurate all the time. Now, 98%, yes, it will be true, but there are cases where it can have gone wrong, terribly wrong. Now, limited value in some cases. Let's say you're building just a static website. You really don't want to do a performance testing because it's just a static thing. There is no, it's not, your website is not expected to handle a large number of users or engagement at a given point of time. Then you don't want to invest in performance testing because, like I said, it shoots up cost. You need to hire specific resources, get in specific licenses, and all that. So you have to evaluate whether your application really needs performance testing or not. All right, that's all you need to know about the performance testing point of view as a concept in testing. I hope I have cleared your concept of performance testing, some of the tools we talked about, some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages. We'll continue learning in this series, and in the next episode we will talk about usability testing. Very, very critical, very, very important, especially if you are a senior developer and trying to move into a next role. If you like my work and tutorials, please do consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/arctutorials. Thank you so much in advance. See you in the next episode. Keep supporting. Thank you.